Welcome to the Quantum Healthy Podcast. I'm Andeea, a licensed addiction counselor, and along with my co-host, Laura Kissman, a quantum nutritionist, we will be inviting expert scientists, clinicians, survivors, and thrivers to distill their pearls of wisdom attained from applying quantum biology to their fields of research and everyday lives. Our goal is to bring you easy to understand principles and practices about the study of light, water, and magnetism so you can take your health into your own hands. Hello, everyone. We have an amazing guest today that's been so inspiring for us to learn from. Her name is Vanessa Baldwin. She is a certified classical homeopath, and she's also certified in she's a certified circadian clinician and ancestral health practitioner. And she's very passionate about helping others overcome their health struggles through holistic healing. And Vanessa coaches her clients to implement simple lifestyle changes that make a huge impact on health. In conjunction with that, she uses homeopathic medicine to uproot the real root causes of diseases. And Vanessa understands that, or what it's like to be at the bottom of a health crisis. And this allows her to bring a great deal of compassion, empathy, and support to her clients. She's a dedicated healer who will be your partner and support you thoroughly along your healing journey. And she is here today to inspire our listeners and us. I've listened and known you for a little while, Vanessa, and you're just so inspiring. I learn every single time you speak. I am so excited for today's episode. I will turn it over to Laura, and we're going to ask you some questions, and it's going to be an amazing conversation, I can already tell.
Likewise, Andeea, because Vanessa and I are connected. We're all connected, the three of us, through the Quantum Biology Collective, the Quantum Biology course. We're all graduates, but I'm also connected with Vanessa because we studied for 2 years together, Classical Homeopathy under Heather Shepherd. So we will get into that a little bit later. But the third connection, official one, is we all listen to one makes it, but we have been avid fans of the Quantum Connection podcast, which is Vanessa and Heather Crimson's podcast. It's fabulous. They brought on so many interesting people who some I knew about, but some I have never heard of. So yeah, it's been an inspiration to us to follow your journeys, but also to learn, so much that podcast. So because the word quantum is in so many of those things, last week was episode 1, and we kind of defined what quantum was. It was this tiny, tiny packet. And so, talking about the electron, level at that level, and why we're looking at health, from the mitochondrial perspective and at that tiny, tiny quantum level. But we also use this word quantum biology. So I thought we would start by asking you, what is quantum biology to you, Vanessa?
Oh, that's a great question to start. And thank you so much for having me here. And thank you so much for all your kind words. You guys, Laura, you're amazing too. I mean, I have a connection with her for so many reasons, and just a real inspiration too. And so are you, Andeea. I mean, I love you guys both so much. So it's like so sweet. And I love that you follow the podcast, and it warms my heart so much. It's just so beautiful. Oh. Everybody in the quantum world is just the best. And that's because of the way that their lifestyle is. They just exude happiness and love. And I love it. So let's just go there first, right? That's most important, because it's the connection really that matters the most. But yes. Yeah, so I've quantum biology a little bit differently, I think, than most, but I just think of it as a very simple way. It is this small input and stimulus that just has a huge impact on our biology. So a simple thing like putting your feet in the earth is going to give your body electrons. You're going to gather free electrons, like you were saying before. And then that is going to be selective and can go wherever the body needs for healing. So that's quantum to me. It's just this small stimulus or input that has this huge impact on your body. Same thing happens when you build melanin in your skin, right? You're going to split water to make more molecular hydrogen, and then that's selective, and it moves to where your body needs it, right? So small effect or small stimulus, big effect in the body. To me, that's the quantum effect, right? Like another example is sunrise, getting that blue light, that red light into our eye to set the circadian rhythm, sets the stage for all of our gene clocks to synchronize then, right? And then there's homeopathy, which to me is the ultimate quantum energetic medicine, right? Because it's this very small stimulus. It's an energetic imprint taken only literally a few times, sometimes one time. And it's this medicine. It just stimulates the body to self-heal. And if it's the right remedy for you, it's going to have a profound effect on your biology and so many different like quantum effects, right? So that's how I view quantum biology, just a small stimulus, big impact, right, on the physiology.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's I guess the word no we always hear about this non-linear effect. So this
Mhm.
tiny stimulus can have this massive impact. Yeah, I really liked how you brought that out and explained that. Okay, I guess we need to go further with quantum biology. What brought you to how did you hear about it? How did you
Oh,
start studying it? Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think like most healers, it comes from our own health issues usually, right? We have our own health struggles. So that's what really led me. I was having a lot of health struggles and I'm doing all the searching, I mean, I mean, when you're in a health crisis, you kind of have to keep figuring it out, right? And of course, I tried all the things, whether it was allopathic medicine in the beginning, I started with all of that. And it just was, man, I didn't get anywhere with that, unfortunately. And I listened and I did all the things to do, right? But then it wasn't working. So then I went to functional medicine. I just kind of felt like that was allopathic medicine in disguise in a lot of ways. And I
Mm.
wasn't really getting anywhere either there. It was like, here's a bunch of supplements to fix your problem. Here's a pill for every ill. And I was getting nowhere there either. So and I had bought a sauna actually because one of my functional doctors said, "Oh, you have mold, buy a sauna." And actually, it was too depleting for me because my energetic battery was even too low for even that. Like, that's how sick I was. So, yeah, it was my health journey. And I just kept searching and searching. And eventually, I came across a doctor who was talking a lot about getting out in the sunrise. And I mean, I was literally debilitating chronic pain at this time, depression, chronic insomnia. My pain was worse at night. I didn't sleep. I was not able to be a mom, like at this point in my life, really, or to be a wife.
Oh, that must have been tragic.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
like literally on the floor, not able to get up in depression. Like that's how bad it was. Like, like you were so depressed where I don't know if anybody's ever been there before, but like literally, like I got to go to the food store, but I can't get off the floor because I'm just so
oh,
like
wow.
that's how dark my space was. And also like I went to suicidal depression when my pain would ramp up. Like I would think about it like often. So it was a really scary place and nothing was moving the needle. So it was like you just have to keep searching. And actually the first thing that actually helped me was watching sunrise, getting up, watching sunrise and getting my feet in the ground. And I was my body all of a sudden just was able to regulate in the way that I was able to fall asleep finally. Because I would literally dread the nights of the chronic pain. I'd be like, oh my goodness, how am I going to survive another night? Because I knew the pain would come. I knew the insomnia would come. I knew the anxiety would come. I wouldn't be able to sleep. And then, of course, when you don't sleep for like months at a time, like what that does to your whole body is huge. And that's basically what happened. It was like this just cascading effect of just, yeah, I didn't sleep for months. And yeah, so I was,
I've been there. How about
yeah,
Andeea? I see you nodding.
Yes.
yeah,
I
Yes.
was a
Okay.
chronic meth user for a very long time, and
yeah.
when
Oh,
you use that, you stay up for days on end, and then you crash sleep like for 24 to 48 hours, and then you do it all over again. And sometimes I would be up for seven, I don't even want to say the amount of days. Like
oh,
Yeah.
is
Andeea.
so yeah, but I know and that is a different way of looking at the that not getting sleep. I was choosing that, and I don't think that Vanessa was in this case, but I know what it's
Yeah.
like to have that, just the
Mhm.
depletion.
Yes, very depleted. I was very depleted before that also, just from also chronic dieting, chronic exercise. A lot of things led up to this, right? So, I mean, of
Okay.
course, we get to the triggers and stuff like that, but like there was a lot of dieting, a lot of chronic cardio, a lot of exercise, a lot of that. Really, I was very, very depleted. And all of my test results from functional medicine did show that, like very depleted body in many ways. But yeah, the sunrise was the first thing that really helped me. Like
Mm.
just that small stimulus of getting outside and my feet on the ground. And I was so depleted at that time. I just sat. I didn't go, I didn't walk, I didn't move. I just literally sat there in the grass. And that made such a huge impact on my sleep. And then, of course, you just keep learning more and more. And then, I started wearing blue blockers. I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then you start turning the Wi-Fi off at night and just keep, things kept improving and kept getting better. And you kept learning. I learned from like all, Heather Shepard and Carrie Bennett and Sarah Kleiner and like all the people just literally listening to every podcast, reading every book, then joining the Quantum Biology Collective. You guys know, like doing all that fun stuff and then just meeting all these wonderful people, too. So yeah.
It's amazing how much you can learn on podcasts.
Oh my goodness, yes, you
Yeah.
really can. People don't
Yeah.
take that into like consideration. Like you
Oh,
can really like, it's funny, like I love the Quantum Biology Collective, but I knew most of it going in because I had learned it on my own through
yeah.
podcasts. Of course I learned more. Everybody can always learn more, but you
Mhm.
can really glean a lot. So
Okay, back to your story. You haven't given us all the detail because I know more details. I think Andeea does too. Don't know if you want to bring that out or not. But one thing I wanted to ask you was, I think you tell your story on the Quantum Connection. Do you know what episode? If people did want to go and find that?
it's an earlier episode. I do. I think it's somewhere in the teens. I'm not sure of the number, but it's Vanessa's story. So yeah, I do give the full detail of all
Okay.
the things and
Yeah.
what it was like for me. It
And
was a
just
tough episode for me to record.
yeah.
It was tough. Yeah. But
I
yeah.
bet it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all kind of told our story. I know for me, the first time was on the Quantum Biology Collective, and it was the leading up to the story that was just like, oh, all the insights I got thinking about telling the story. And then it's been easier since I've been able to shorten it up, but each time I tell it, but on your story again,
Yeah.
I'll just share that because we're going to touch on homeopathy here in a second, but Vanessa and I got to meet in person at Heather Shepard's homeopathy retreat for our class. There was, I think, 6 of us present,
Yeah.
and it was very special. But some of us volunteered to be cases and to tell where we were at, and then the class worked to figure out, okay, what would be the right constitutional remedy at this time. And Vanessa did her story, and I just want to, I just say that it brought pretty much everybody in the room to tears. And I can
Mhm.
remember sitting with you when we were on the floor. Do you remember that? We were sitting on the floor and I was kind
Oh
of
yeah.
just holding you, and I don't want to go there right now, but it was, yeah, I will never forget it, because
Yeah.
what you've been through, Vanessa, nobody should have had to gone through.
Yeah.
I don't think you mentioned it yet, probably in the bio, but I mean, you were a teacher
Hmm.
working,
Yeah. Yeah.
you were the picture of health, and all of a sudden you're at this state of being just completely crashed. And it's just, it's hard to imagine, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about
Yeah,
what.
so many things to say there. First of all, that was an amazing retreat. The community, the connection there, just being with all those women who are like-minded, who have the same, who you can feel isolated sometimes in this. And this is like, okay, these are my people. These are the people who understand, who've been through, So that was amazing. And Laura and I have a connection because we both suffer with interstitial cystitis. So that's a tough diagnosis to deal with, and it affects you on so many levels. And I think that's why also you related so much and I relate to you so much. So that was amazing and special. And the community and connection part is so important on the healing journey. And also like sharing it with all of you and being able to express it and having you be there with me and having you guys all support me like through that was so healing in that moment. I didn't even take a remedy then, if you remember, I never took that remedy, but that was healing in itself. Yeah, I
Okay,
never
yeah.
took that remedy that you guys gave me. I
Not
never went
yet.
taking it. Not yet. I'm sure
Not
I'm going to
yet.
need it. I'm sure I'll need it eventually, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a layer, but it's just so interesting, right? So, and then, yeah, I mean, I was a teacher and I did look like the picture of health, but I have to say that's really important to note is that even though I looked really healthy at that time, I wasn't. So because leading up to my injury, I'll say, I had an injection that I wish I never put in my body, right? Leading up to that, I already was exuding lots of health conditions. And I really think putting my body in such a depleted state caused a lot of that. And the environment, of course, I was living in, I was teaching virtually. So you're exposed to a lot of non-native EMFs, a lot of artificial light, more than I'd ever been before, because it was the time of, the pandemic. So I was a virtual teacher. I had never been exposed to that much,
A
not
huge electron stealer, right? Like,
never.
yeah.
And that's also when I developed Hashimoto's. I got the diagnosis of Hashimoto's literally the exact same time. And I did the stress of the pandemic, the fear, all of that is all playing a role, right? But I had already had I think the chronic dieting also was a role in the alopecia and the development of the interstitial cystitis before that, and even Raynaud's. Like all these things led up. And then after the injection, it was a total health decline of literally like, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, it was severe depression. I couldn't get through teaching my, class on Zoom without crying, panic attacks laying on my classroom floor, every joint hurt. The bladder situation went from hormonally annoying to like, oh my God, every day, top 10 pain, fire. I don't know how I'm going to live. Like that's what it went from. And yeah, it was pretty much horrible that I left my career and I've never been back. But at the same time, I look at it now as a blessing because look at everything that's happened since then. Like, yes, I went through a horrible time, and yes, not every day is sunshine and roses either in my life. Nobody's is, right? Most days are really good, but it brought me to all of this. And you guys, I wouldn't be sitting here with you guys having this conversation. I wouldn't have my Quantum Connection podcast with Heather Crimson and sharing my message with everybody. Like, so
Yeah.
I do look at it as a huge blessing, even though it was a lot of hardship,
And just that, jump in, Andeea, here. I keep going first here. But the fact that I think that Vanessa, I think you're gifted. I don't know if it's your brain, your experience teaching, but you really seem to get the concepts and are able to explain them really well. And now to see you now branching out and coaching, group coaching, writing ebooks, and a lot of the things that you offer, you're going to benefit so many people, and that reach you're going to have is going to touch lives, and not just that person, but their family and everybody, their kids, and so yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you say, it just goes on and on. But
Yeah, it's that ripple effect. It's that quantum effect, right?
ripple
Right there.
effect.
And I love
Yeah.
that. That's so kind. And I love teaching. Like it's like such a passion of mine. So it's like I will like have an idea. I just did it before. I'm like, I gotta make a YouTube video on that. Like I just love it. Like so it's part of my nature, I guess. Like I love to teach. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
you're really active on Instagram.
Yeah.
I see you walking along and just, it's early morning and you're like, okay, everybody, I'm going to talk to you about sunlight. I just love that. Just two questions before we move on to
Yeah.
something, a new sort of idea. Um, One thing that we share, by the way, is just thyroid in general. So that's an interesting,
Mm.
yeah, with the Hashimoto's. And with that, often you mentioned, well, a lot of times people can have Raynaud's, which you mentioned, and just to explain in case people don't know what that is, it's supposed to be, they think it's autoimmune, but basically it's the capillaries in these little blood vessels, but the tiny ones called the capillaries, they kind of close up, and you'll see people, if they get too cold, often it's their fingers will just go white. It's like
That's
the
exactly what
circulation.
happens.
Yes, like the circulation stops into the capillaries. And so what I wanted to ask you was, a really common therapy in the quantum space is cold therapy. Have
Mhm.
you been able to do cold therapy? Does the Raynaud's?
Yeah. No, I can do cold therapy fine. The Raynaud doesn't seem to bother by that actually, which is kind of odd. Yeah, I can put my hands in the water. It'll happen to me but I can't do cold therapy when I'm already cold. So that's a different ball game. So if I
Okay.
was already cold, probably not. So like if I'm walking on a snowy day,
Mhm.
that'll happen. My hands will get too cold. Then it's like that can be rough. So I couldn't jump in the cold then. But if I go in cold therapy now, like when it's springtime and fall and summer, I can do it really easily. Or I can do cold showers very easily without it really activating. If my body, it's like if my body temperature gets too cold, it's definitely a
Right.
cold aggravates, right? I do think
Right.
it's that calc carb layer,
Right.
but
Homeopathy.
yeah, but it like even like if my body's already cold, then it aggravates it. You know what I mean? So like if I touch something cold, even sometimes it can happen. Like I'm at the food store and
Mhm.
it's happened before. So it's annoying, but it's not my worst symptom, but it is
Right.
definitely an annoying symptom. But yeah, I can do cold therapy.
Okay. I do that, nature. That's usually how I do my cold therapy, and it
Mhm.
gets quite cold. But the one little tip I share it just in case anybody listening, but maybe you too. I've noticed that when I come home, obviously warming up. It takes me 10 minutes to drive home and get all my clothes
Mhm.
on and everything from the river. But a bad idea is to jump in a hot shower right away
Mhm.
because I feel it in one of my feet. And I don't know if they call it chilblains. It's an old term, I guess.
Yes,
But
that's in homeopathy actually in the compass. You can look up
right.
that word. Yeah.
Right. And so I've learned to not shock the body with heat, not to let it go too cold too long. If I start to feel, it's almost like it affects the nerves a little bit. So,
Mm.
yeah, that's something I've had to learn. And I if I ever teach a cold, I talk about cold thermogenesis, whatever. I always try to bring out the safety issues there, because
Yeah.
you can hurt yourself. And, this is
Yes.
supposed to be helpful for the body and not hurt the body in the
Mhm.
end. Uh,
I do think too, I have to, with my level of hormone imbalances that I've been dealing with for many, many years, I also was obese. I didn't even mention that in my story. I was, 60, 70 pounds heavier than I am now. So for a 5 foot woman, I was pretty obese, and I had probably an addiction to food. I used to hide chips in my room and eat them. Like, so there was that also in me. But I think with my level of hormone imbalance and just trying to get that back, which it's way better than it was, I still have to be cautious with cold therapy. So
yeah.
we have to know that as women too. It's just different for us. We can't be Wim Hof and be in there for as much as men can. It's just, we're just more sensitive.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. That was so
yeah,
good.
thanks.
Andeea, do you have anything to share? I keep jumping in.
No, it's good. This is awesome. I love what you said about community and healing
Yeah.
because, in the in addiction recovery space, community is the number one coping skill that we have. And it's not unique to addiction. It
No.
is so needed for any healing journey. So I love that you said that, and I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks so much. I agree. Honestly, I think community and connection is up there with circadian biology, homeopathy. It's been a major, major player in my healing. Huge.
Well, we get electrons from people, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Just
our
go.
pets. So
And
it's
your pets, I'm always like, that's so cute, because my husband, when he first learned that, he's like, you want to snuggle? We'll pass electrons. Like, I just love that. Like, so he's like trying to get into my world and my language that way. It's so cute. But even like you pet your dog who's been walking on the grass, like you're gathering electrons. Like, it's just
Yeah.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
all that quantum effect.
I
love it.
always think of healing with voltage, I think it's called.
Yes, that's such a
Healing,
great book.
healing
Mhm,
is voltage. I've got it. I'm looking
mhm.
at it right
Jerry
now.
Tennant. Mhm.
Gary Ten. I used to teach a workshop years ago before all this. I learned, took the course.
Yeah.
And he tells the story about how he was bedridden, and he had these two little dogs. I don't know if they were corgis, they were smallish, but they would go outside grounded, as every dog is, and come in, and they would actually each put themselves to the part of the body. I forget if it was his spleen and maybe his brain, and they would one would curl up at his head and one at the spleen. It was like they literally were
Mm.
trying to heal him
Yeah.
by bringing him the electrons, because his redox potential,
Yeah.
was so low, and which I thought is so interesting. And I'm going to contemplate on, you talking about before you sort of had this injury and things really went downhill. You were chronic dieting and over exercising. And
Mhm.
what would that do, right? It would be
Oh, it's so depleting to your,
stealing
yeah.
electrons. Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
you'd have a lower read. You probably weren't really low, but you were at a lower redox
Oh, definitely. And your
potential.
body is not getting enough cholesterol through fat, which is also an electron donor and really
Yeah.
important for healing. Like, because I was eating
Yeah.
I was not only eating low calorie, like 1,200 calories a day, but also like no fat either.
Right.
So that was also huge. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
huge factor. But yeah, the animals are intuitive. They know what you need. So cute. I love that.
Yes. Okay, which brings me to then sort of the next topic. We're going to
Okay.
move to homeopathy. And just to say that we had a homeopathy hangout yesterday, and we were all talking about how these remedies can work on dogs, just talking
Yeah.
about animals. And now I think you guys know I board dogs. I feel like now every dog that comes here, I'm thinking, oh, this remedy suits them, because they're open, they're lying on their back with their paws open, and so they're super friendly, and that would fit with a phosphorus. And anyway, homeopathy is this beautiful, like you say, quantum medicine. I think not everybody thinks that, so I really love that you've brought that to the space, Vanessa. Can you tell us what homeopathy is, just in a nutshell?
Okay, I'll do my best. It's so hard. It's like that's like a whole hour-long podcast, right? But
Yeah.
homeopathy is just this, in a simple word, it's an ancient system of medicine created about 200 years ago from the late and great Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, who was a chemist, scholar, physician. He actually was an allopathic medicine doctor who was frustrated with, their the modalities that they were using back then, like bloodletting and all the things, and that the people really weren't healing, they weren't getting any better, and they weren't ever reaching a cure. So he kind of left that system, and he actually wound up he used to translate medical texts. He was extremely smart. So he was translating medical texts, and he came across this idea of like cures like. So it's not his idea, really, like cures like. Like cures like has been around since Hippocrates' time, and it was actually favored by him as well. So it's not a new thing, but he came across this idea, and he started doing some provings and some kind of like experiments and testing things out. And That's basically how homeopathy was actually termed. So it's a system of medicine based on the law of similars. So this law states that a disease can be cured by a substance if that substance can cause in a healthy person symptoms similar to those of the disease. So the word homeopathy actually means similar suffering. That's what it actually means. So when you visit an allopathic medical doctor, a naturopathic medical doctor, a functional medicine doctor, any of these, they are going to give you something that's going to try to do the opposite. They work on the law of opposites, where homeopathy works on the law of similars. So it's the only modality I know that actually works on the law of similars that I can think of in my mind right now. But anyway, an example would be an allopathic, would give someone with a skin eruption some sort of cream or steroid or anti-inflammatory opposite, right? Like we think of like antidepressants, anti-inflammatory, anti this, right? It's stop.
Or histamines would be another one.
Antihistamines,
Right.
all of these things, right? All of these things, they're stopping the inflammation, they're stopping the pathology, right? I mean, we think it's actually stopping, but it's not, because you're
Right.
stopping the healing process because the symptoms are actually the healing.
Well said.
So then you're actually, what you're doing is you're causing deeper pathology to develop, unfortunately. So say, for example, for the thyroid issue, say you've had a lot of reoccurring strep throat, right? And you keep suppressing it and suppressing it and suppressing it. Well, now you maybe develop a thyroid issue. Or like a common one is like eczema on the skin, suppressed after suppression. Now you have asthma. That's like a very common one that even allopaths know about. That's a common progression that happens. So that's what I mean by deeper pathology. Actually, suppressed UTIs leads to depression. So makes sense in my case. I had a lot of suppressed UTIs. Deeper pathology develops, right? So anyway, a homeopath is going to, intake is going to be very different. They're going to ask you, say somebody, for example, okay, you come to see an allopathic doctor and say you have like some sort of skin eruption. They're going to give you, like I said, that anti-inflammatory, stops the symptoms. But a homeopath is going to ask you many questions to figure out the remedy that matches the frequency and vibration of your illness. So example, maybe you're worse heat, maybe you're worse sun, maybe you're worse bathing and better with cold applications. That's one remedy. But maybe that's not you at all. Maybe you're better warm applications, you're very restless and worse cold, damp weather. This indicates an entirely different remedy. So we support the healing process and really just nudge the immune system to self-heal. It's really the stimulus. Homeopathy is really the stimulus. The magic is really not in homeopathy. The magic is in you. Homeopathy just provides your body this like nudge, this stimulus, this catalyst to actually just promote the self-healing to happen. And what I love about homeopathy too is it views the person as an entire entity. It doesn't break the body down into biochemical individual parts that are misfiring. And that's what happened to me when I went to allopathic medicine. It was like, oh, go see the interstitial cystitis, go see the bladder doctor, go see you have a problem, go see your psychiatrist, go see, your gastroenterologist, go see your endocrinologist. I was like, how many doctors could I visit? I remember being exhausted when I was doing this, when I had all these health issues, seeing all these different doctors, and nobody was putting the pieces together about really what's actually going on with me. And now I guess functional medicine does a little bit better of that, trying to put the pieces together. But I do think they're missing the whole, like, there's just a pill for every ill kind of thing. And I think it can work in a suppressive way. Unfortunately, that's my opinion. And that's because it didn't help me. So maybe that's why I'm a little biased. But anyway, instead, homeopathy treats the individual based on their unique mental, physical, and emotional symptoms in the present moment. It's just very highly individualized medicine. It doesn't treat a disease diagnosis. So Laura's not going to come to me with her Graves and say, I have Graves and I'm going to give her the remedy for Graves. No, I'm going to give Laura the remedy to treat her symptoms that she's expressing, because not every person with Graves is going to exhibit the same symptoms, just like not every person with Hashimoto's exhibits the same symptoms, or interstitial cystitis, which is huge. I mean, it's amazing the variation of the symptomology in that disease, right? Because everybody's going to express it different based on their own energetic imprints in their body, right? So yeah, it's just highly individual. And it's great that all the remedies I love that are derived from nature. So minerals, plants, animals. And the best part is, here's the quantum part, that they're diluted down to such a degree that only the healing potential like remains and all the toxicity is removed. So it's basically just an energetic imprint. And that's what makes it a quantum medicine. And it just strengthens the whole vital force. But that's what why they poo-poo it, like medical doctors, because they're like, there's nothing in this, right? Because they don't understand quantum, that it's an energetic imprint, right, of the, say, arnica. It's not actually, arnica would be poison if you took it regularly. You would actually harm yourself. But my husband took arnica to help with his pain during his clavicle break, and it really decreased his pain so much during the healing process. But that's why I think, conventional medicine can't understand why it works, right? Because they're like, there's nothing here, but that's the quantum.
There's nothing here.
That's
That's
the
true.
quantum. I love that it looks at the whole,
Yes.
because everything's
Yeah.
connected, and it's
Yeah.
it's beautiful. That was an amazing explanation.
Thanks.
Yeah. The one thing that Heather Shepherd taught us in class, I don't know if you remember this, the way this image comes to my mind with homeopathy. It's like you're at the gym and you're trying to do, what is this?
Bench press.
A bench press, right? You got this really heavy weight and you've done your last rep and you just can't even get it back on the bar. And homeopathy is like the personal trainer that comes along, or your buddy, and just lightly, they barely are taking any of the weight, and all of a sudden it's you that actually lifts it, but they're just that extra little support that is like the needle mover to, strengthen the immune system, boost it or whatever. That it's there, but it's just, you can't, it's stuck. It just can't get over the little hill or whatever and get it up there. So anyway,
I love that. That's a great example. Yeah, it's like these, and also it's removing the energetic blockages, it's removing the suppressive medications maybe that you've taken or whatever it is. Like it's removing those bricks. I think that was her other example that has also always stuck with me. But I love that because it really is, the magic is in you. Like I love that too. Because it's you who's doing the healing, and that's what makes it last, because your body does the work, not a medication, not a supplement. It's you who's doing the work.
Yeah, I had a couple of the questions. I think you've answered them. Like what brought you to homeopathy? I think that's obvious now. And then what came first? What came first? I guess would have been the homeopathy and then quantum biology?
No, I was
Maybe the
doing quantum biology for about 2 years before homeopathy. And honestly, that's very interesting because like I love quantum biology and I think it's amazing. Like it's an amazing, healing foundational thing that we have, but I was doing it for 2 years and I was still struggling in many ways. So I see quantum biology as the foundation, but for those of us who have I was probably born in a low level of health. Like honestly, when I think back at my history, I dealt with bladder issues at 5. Chronic bladder infections at 5 years old. Like this is a sign that I probably got a low redox potential young. I was compromised mitochondria young, low level of health, weak constitution, whatever you want to say it. It's all the same thing. But there's probably some inherited blockages, right?
A higher heteroplasmy rate.
Higher heteroplasmy rate, same thing, right? Yeah. But there's some sort of energetic blockage there, or like a use of a lot of suppressives maybe. And when we have that, we need more to heal than just quantum biology. And I want to bring that message, and I try to bring that message on the quantum connection. Like and it doesn't have to be homeopathy, but sometimes we need more. Right. EFT tapping was also extremely very helpful for me. Also, I don't mention that a lot, but I found that to be a great modality to help remove energetic blockages and traumas and things like that. And also, therapy just in general has been helpful. So there's other things that what I don't want people to do is, like, I think sometimes in the quantum world, it's just the light. Okay, I figured it out. And then they don't want to do anything else. But yeah, light is really important. And I value it at such a high degree, but it's not everything. There are other things that we've got to do. And I think some people with higher levels of health can just do a diet or can just change their light environment and heal. But they're probably not somebody who's had a lot of suppression to their immune system. They're probably not somebody who has a lot of energetic blockages generationally. And I just think disease is multifactorial. So I think that's just really important to bring to the table.
I want to sneak a question in because we've mentioned redox a couple of times, and many of our listeners are beginners. And I know I've heard you explain it, Vanessa, so beautifully. Do you want to just give us the down and dirty what redox is really quick?
Oh man, let's hope I can do it right.
You got this.
I don't know, for some reason that's like always like the question that I get. And that's what I was like, I'm gonna do a reel on this, and then I made a YouTube video on this, so I'm gonna get better at explaining it. Right? That was my
your reel was so good, so people find her on Instagram and watch.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, my mom literally asked me this question like every day for like a month, so I was like, I got to make a reel too. That was the other reason why I was like, I have to do this. And I think redox potential is just basically how well we can take the energy we get from electrons, from sunlight, from movement, from grounding, from food, and actually turn that into usable energy, right? That's your redox potential. Can I take this, the electrons that I'm gathering, and make usable energy? But really, redox stands for reduction and oxidation, those two words. So reduction is when you're reducing inflammation or gathering electrons. And we gather electrons basically from basically four ways: sunlight, earthing, movement, and also food, of course, eating high quality food. And then we have electron stealers, right? That's oxidation, when we're in an oxidative state where we are, gaining, we're losing electrons and we're gaining inflammation, right? So then that's going to come from lots of different things, like a lot of electron stealers, like artificial light in our environment, non-native EMFs, poor circadian rhythms, poor food quality, eating out of season. I would say alcohol. Alcohol is a huge electron stealer. Suppressive medications is a huge one. So we can lose electrons. So it's like a balance, right? Like finding that balance of how can I gain as much electrons as I can from my environment and avoid the things that are going to steal my electrons, toxins in our environment, through tap water, fluoride, that's huge. Like stress. Oh, stress. Absolutely. That's a good one. That's a great one. Stress, 100%. Yeah. Think about how depleting stress can be to somebody. Your resilience goes down when you're stressed. Emotional stress suppression, if you're not handling your emotions and your grief, if you're disconnected and isolated, all these things. There are so many deep layers to this that can really come out. But yeah, so it's just finding that balance of gaining electrons from my environment and avoiding the things that steal it, and we also gain electrons, like this is not talked about, but connection, like you said before, I think it was Andeea who said it, like you're going to gain electrons from all those connections that you have with people,
all that oxytocin, all that love.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like the baby's giving it to you as a mother and you're giving it to the baby. The dad's feeling it. I always think
it goes back to your saying, Laura, the amount of times I've told clients this about breaking nature's laws and she will break you. That's such a great saying because it's so true. Like we just do what nature how we're supposed to live in accordance with nature and just follow those rules. We don't have these issues as much, right? So,
and then if you follow Mother Nature's rules, your redox potential will go up, right?
Of course. Yeah. Your
more
healing
resilient.
potential.
Yeah,
You're more resilient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Redox potential is a better way to just say healing potential, right? So
yeah, sure. I like that. Yeah, it's good. Okay, where are we? Okay, I don't know if there's really time to do too much here, but do you have an interesting case with homeopathy where you've used it? Can be on yourself or a family member, a friend, animal, anything you can share?
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Just to help people understand how it works.
Yeah, man, homeopathy can support so many things, like from acute conditions to chronic conditions, but like things like pneumonia, ear infection, yeast infections, wounds, pain. You name it, anything it can support, right? To chronic things like depression, anxiety, right? So it can do either one, right? Acutes and chronics, and it can be really fast in acutes and a little longer in chronics, but it can really support really any health issue out there. Just a small margin of things that it can't support, but most things, yeah, it can. But anyway, I'll use one of my children because that's an easier example. This way I can keep clients outside of the, out of this. But yeah, so my middle son, Brendan, he was having pretty intense panic attacks when I just started learning about homeopathy. And they were really, really intense where his heart would race out of control. He would not want to go to school. He would need me to be right next to him. I had to hold it, really, he needed a lot of company, a lot of reassurance. He would cry, he would be upset. And it was just like, they were kind of debilitating, really. He would be afraid to eat. He would feel nauseous. Like all of these things would come up, like just really severe panic attacks. And they kept coming on very strong. They were happening really often. He wanted sips of water. He would get cold. He'd want a blanket. He's a pretty fastidious kid, means he likes things really neat and likes things in order and control. And he had one dose of the indicated remedy. He's not had one panic attack since that. And it's been 2 years. And it's like, I'm just like still so blown away because homeopathy, the amazing thing about homeopathy that people don't realize is it can work that powerfully. And his aggravation was low, like just fatigue, that he was tired. And then he also got a bald spot where I was telling Laura this yesterday of alopecia areata, which is how the body kind of, I feel like, expelled it. Those are just his aggravations weren't really too much on the panic, which was nice because that can be a little stressful. But it's just amazing. It just keeps if you don't touch the remedy, it will just keep working deeper and deeper and deeper in the body. So he's been on this remedy for literally 2 years, one dose. That's it. One time he's had it. It's such a small stimulus that keeps making a bigger and bigger impact the longer you just let it act. And he's been amazing since then. Like there's no issues. And I can even go to my other son who also had anxiety. His was different, more worse at night, chronic bloody noses, and just a big thirst for ice cold water. I bet Laura knows the remedy. And
It's coming.
he just literally has no more anxiety. We're still dealing with some other things. Some people take one remedy and their whole organism balances. That was my middle son. My older son has needed a lot of remedies. He's got a lot of strong acutes, a lot of things that are coming back up, the acutes and fevers, but these are great signs, and not everybody can understand that. Him getting acutes again, him getting fevers again has been amazing. And every time he has fevers or acutes, I see the progression of his healing, his health. He's actually getting leaner finally, which is great. He's motivated in different ways, like all these little things. And I could go into my other son too, but I don't want to take too much time. But again, he's getting acutes, and behavioral issues have proved after fevers. So it's been amazing for my family and myself too. So
just to mention on the fevers, we actually get excited when we see a high fever, like a fever over 101 with homeopathy, because the feeling is that with all the suppressive medications that we've had, vaccinations, all different kinds included, we are losing the ability to make a fever in the body. And just, you can try and go in a sauna, but it's not the same. The body has to initiate it from the immune system. It's not the same kind of sweat. And there are beliefs that the more, having these fevers will actually maybe even help prevent cancer down the road. So it's actually not, don't be afraid to get sick. It's when you don't get sick, that we start to worry about people, because, is their immune system so suppressed they can't even get sick? And it's just this, do they have pathology in the body that's staying deeper and suppressed? So
yes, fevers are amazing. I'm so glad you brought that up, Laura, and you said it so beautifully. I celebrate it. I get so excited. And they've had fevers over 101.3. Like I've been like, I'm like,
oh,
amazing.
congratulations.
And they literally they haven't had fevers before that. Like they were just, their immune system was so suppressed. My son had perfect attendance. Like literally, that's how it was. They were never sick. And that is a reason why he had anxiety. That's the point.
Interesting.
Because he had the deeper pathology, because we suppressed everything all his life. So
So that's the only medicine really you use now.
Oh yeah, I know. 100%.
Obviously the ER, they're the best doctors ever. You always, emergency care, you have
Of
to.
course, in an emergency, we haven't had
things,
knock on wood, we haven't had any emergency situations, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But if there was, yes, in emergency, we would. Like my husband, when he broke his clavicle, okay, homeopathy can't fix that. It can support him through the process, but we're not fixing it. He needs to go get.
It has its place. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
You can't hurt it.
Yeah, but the point is that no, we don't use any other medicine. And I don't even like my oldest had herpes from wrestling. And I was like, I don't want to put the oregano oil on it, because which does work, but I didn't want to even do that, because even that is suppressive. Like we don't realize that sometimes natural things are suppressive, right? Because the body's not healing it, we're stopping it. So, so I'm cautious with those things. Red light therapy would be better. Sunlight, things like that. Yeah, that would work better. I feel like not suppressive.
Get off the topic of cases. I was planning on asking you if you had any experience with clients that had addiction. And just before we move on from it, I might as well ask it now.
Yeah. Great question. No, I haven't had that yet. That's not something that I've had. I don't have experience with it, but I would absolutely, not homeopathically, but I would absolutely consider my case that like I had like food addiction myself, and I don't have food addiction now. And I think circadian biology is what fixed that necessarily, not homeopathy. Mm-hmm. So I haven't had that, but that would be amazing clients to have. And I think homeopathy could be super, super supportive, like just supporting basically, the energetic influences that cause that symptomology to manifest, right? Basically, because there are certain remedies that have a more predisposition, or certain people have a more predisposition to have those kinds of tendencies. But honestly, I think circadian biology would be where I start either way in that case, because we get the art blocking the artificial light, we get them sleeping in a dark, quiet room, we get their neurotransmitter support going through UVA light, get them out at sunrise. This is going to help immensely. So that's where I would still start and then and see where the needle took them, and then go to homeopathy if nothing's moving even with it. But I don't think that would happen. So,
Yeah, no, those are all great places to start. That's where I start with people, and I've been seeing amazing results. So no, that's like on point.
I
Thank
yeah.
could
you
see
for answering
Andea's,
that.
I could see Andea smiling, and I was smiling, just like, that is, Andea can explain that all from through dopamine and
Yeah.
all kinds of different ways. Two things before we move on to, I just wanted to comment that you mentioned that your son, it kind of was coming out with baldness. Sad to say, a little tiny spot of baldness, but did it get better?
Oh yeah, it's gone. Yeah, no. It
He
was
just
like
went,
we did have to be patient with it. And he's such a trooper. He's such a good kid. He's got a carcinosin layer also. This is hands down.
okay.
So, but he was so good about it. It was like probably, and I had this, and it was literally in the same spots where I used to get it, but it was like this big, maybe a little bit size of a quarter. It grew a little bit, and then it went away and filled in, and everything was back to
Oh,
normal.
that's
So
great.
yeah, it's a that kind of aggravation is an easy aggravation to handle it, especially he just would brush it over a different way, and he was
Yeah.
good about it. So, but I do think it was how the body pushed it out, pushed the anxiety and panic out of the body. So,
Somebody we want to get on the podcast is Kelly Bento. She's a biological hygienist, really specialist in red light, has her own company. Hopefully she'll say yes and come on. But
she
she's
will.
known as the Quantum Mom on Instagram.
Yeah.
And Vanessa, I think if there's a Quantum Mom club, you're in it. Just hearing those stories, you're definitely in it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
Kelly's great. She was on our podcast. She'll come on. Yeah.
okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
just gotta put the invite out. And I just gotta ask on a side, you said I would know the remedy. Was it sulfur?
Oh, no, phosphorus. Thirsty for
It
ice
was,
cold drinks. Anxiety works at night. Yeah,
and
yeah.
the
And
nosebleeds.
the nosebleeds.
Okay, yeah.
Bright
Okay,
red blood. Bright
I
red
gotta get
blood.
back
Yeah.
to the books.
Yeah. Phosphorus. Yep. Yep.
Right. Well,
He has
let's,
a strong sulfur layer. Wait, I have to tell you one other thing.
okay.
He had that virus, that's still kind of somewhat going around. Who knows if that's even what it was? But he had this really strong sore throat recently, and he had a fever with this. So I wound up giving him sulfur 200C, and I was like, a couple days later, everything got better. He cleaned his room, Laura. His room was
Oh,
so neat. He even vacuumed it. I'm like,
hers are pig
sulfur.
pens.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you sulfur all. Yeah, he's such a pig pen. I was like, I'm gonna give this kid sulfur all the time. No, I'm joking. I will not.
Cleaned his room.
I was like, yes, this is what I mean. And it affects it. It's this quantum ripple effect, right? It's not just affecting the fact that it cured his sore throat and all his other acute symptoms, right? It actually supported him on like a mental, emotional level where, oh, I'm going to neat my room and keep it clean now. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Good.
I'm glad you threw that story in. Okay, so I know something that you've done reels on, and that you're, I want to say an expert in, or growing expert, is in sunlight. And having Andeea wouldn't have the knowledge of this or the benefit of this, but when we were on the retreat and I met Vanessa in person, she has the most beautiful brown tan. I don't know if it's just genetic, but
Oh no.
this woman lives outside. Like she walks her talk. So just yeah, just wanted to ask, can you tell us a little bit about why sunlight is essential?
Oh my God, this is such a huge question, but
It is
I will
huge.
tell you, it is not genetic for me to have a beautiful tan, because I used to be absolutely milk bone white and had a huge sunlight deficiency to the point that I was extremely photosensitive and allergic to the sun, where I would get rashes from the sun. So I was definitely not, this is something that I've worked up to for sure. But yeah, thank you. I literally have lived in the sun for the last 3 years, at least, as much as I possibly can, and even make an effort to go down to, I live in New York, so I try to go down to lower latitudes through the wintertime a couple of times just to get some UV light, because we lose UVB for the whole winter. So I'm trying to get some
Same here.
UVB when I can. So that's why I love our RV, because we can just jump in and travel with it. But anyway,
I think all three of us lose UVB. Would you say the same, Andeea, where you are?
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's rough.
we do. We lose it.
Yeah.
It's rough. It's a rough go around for me over here without UVB. But sunlight really, I mean, honestly, to start, sunlight is a nutrient that we absolutely need to thrive. And each spectrum provides us with different benefits. And honestly, I would just say we're no different than plants and other mammals. And without sunlight, there's no life. So we need it each and every day for healing. I mean, the benefits of sunlight, I'll just go over some benefits, like
Sure. Yeah.
improve mitochondrial function, which then improves your EZ water, which is your cellular hydration, and improves your energy. and then your subcellular melatonin to get healing power literally all day long. Even right now, I'm getting subcellular melatonin from the infrared just by sitting where I'm sitting with the light, with the door open. I'm letting all that light in. It bounces back off against the greenery outside, back onto me, and it's increasing my easy water, my subcellular melatonin. I honestly think that's where a lot of the magic happens. Honestly, is that part of it? But of course,
Can I just ask you, because some of the listeners won't know what that is, what
okay.
subcellular melatonin? They might know what
Yeah.
melatonin is, but not subcellular.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, we have two different kinds of melatonin. We have pineal gland melatonin and subcellular melatonin, and both are controlled by light, actually. So pineal gland melatonin is the one that makes us sleepy and goes to sleep and actually goes through the bloodstream, right? And that's how we fall asleep and do autophagy and apoptosis at night and repair over nighttime. And we actually make that in UVA light. So that's why it's so important to get that through the tryptophan, serotonin pathway. But that's pineal melatonin is only 5% of our melatonin production. The rest of our melatonin production is subcellular, which means it's made in the mitochondria. That's actually 95% of our melatonin production, and it's made through the stimulus of infrared light. This is Scott Zimmerman's work, Russell Ryder's work coming out. So basically, that's the melatonin that we make all day long within the cell that the mitochondria are making. It doesn't make you sleepy, okay, but it will help your body. Melatonin is a major antioxidant. It will help your body repair all day long. So it's basically, I think this is Carrie Bennett's example, but I love it. Like, so say if you worked at a daycare and you just left all the messes like all day long, like you had like the kids took the toys out and the books out, and then they made lunch and there was crumbs, and then they took out this and that, and you just left everything and then had to clean up at the end of the day. And the pineal gland melatonin had to come and do that. That would be so exhausting, right? But if you are outside and exposing your body, which actually infrared light can actually penetrate through clothing, which is amazing. But if you're outside or in shade, you can get it. You're going to clean up and repair those messes all day long, because the body's always going to come into contact with things that are going to, create reactive oxygen species and create inflammation. So we have to balance it out with being in sunlight. And honestly, I think that's one of the most hugest benefits. And we're lacking the infrared because what do? We stay inside. Our lights are missing it because we don't have we have, LEDs and fluorescents. We're not using incandescents anymore. At least most people aren't. And the doors or the windows or the glass all block it as well. So then you're not getting any of that. We're meant to have that literally from sun up to sundown all day long. So I really think that's one of the magic. And that's why it's reducing inflammation and, helping, of course, you're gathering free electrons and wound healing and muscle recovery and collagen. And of course, the circadian rhythm gets set. And then, there's just so much that we can go into. Like, it improves your sex hormone signaling, alertness, mood, appetite regulation. Blood pressure regulation, reduces pain. That's a huge one. Like for me, why did sunlight reduce my pain? Why? Because of the beta endorphins that you're getting from sunlight. That's going to help reduce pain for you, improves memory. Of course, there's the immune function, the dopamine, the serotonin, the vitamin D. And then, like for us, Laura, with the histamine, the oxalate, all those issues, like the glucose or the sugar dysregulation, you're going to deplete glucose. You're going
on the bladder. Yeah, you're talking about the bladder.
Yeah, well, the histamine and the oxalate issues, you're going to help modulate the gut microbiome. And of course, that's going to have effects on the bladder. These things are all connected, right?
Yep.
Improve metabolism, improve your detox, improve your thyroid function. Modulate the gut microbiome, diversify the gut microbiome. It's like, we are just meant to be out there. And basically, it's honestly just free medicine. And we just need to learn how to take advantage of it, and use it safely and effectively. I understand people have their cautions, but if you learn how to use sunlight as medicine and build a solar callus and build your melanin, which is your natural sunblock, get into the morning light to help precondition the skin to use the stronger UVB light later, and then honor those day and night cycles by blocking artificial light, and then combine that with good quality food, you're going to be fine in the sunlight. You're not going to have any issues. So, and honestly, sunlight has been for me, especially UVB sunlight. I miss it when it goes. It's huge for me. It helps me so much better.
That was a fantastic explanation.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, truly.
That was,
fantastic.
I want to say really quick, for a lot of people in early recovery they'll be told to take like 5 milligrams of exogenous melatonin to get their circadian rhythms back on track. And we know that substance use disorder does create a circadian disruption,
Mhm.
but they will stay on it for a very long time. And you know, if we make it, you don't need to take it kind of thing, we need to remember. And what you just explained, Vanessa, is every single reason why a person in early recovery can go out and use sunlight as medicine, and you will not need to take that medication or that exogenous melatonin, because you're going to be getting that from nature. And I know that the research says, you know, for alcohol use disorder, exogenous melatonin doesn't have that much of effect, but it really does with opiate use disorder. And as we all know, we're going through an opiate epidemic. So just to throw that out there for, you know, I don't want to step out of my scope here, but I am able to talk about melatonin,
Mm.
right? And I just think that's just lovely how you just explained it. So
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my own, like before I knew this, I was taking it, man, I think it was Ben Greenfield's product. I don't know if you know this one, Laura. It's like a suppository. This is when I was at my worst, right? And I was
Okay.
trying anything to help myself heal. It's like glutathione and a melatonin suppository, which would help me sleep a little bit, I have to say. But I mean, man, I'm like, I
The
didn't
things,
know. I didn't know I could make it myself. Like nobody told me that. Nobody said to me, like none of my functional doctors ever said, oh, but if you go out in UVA light, you'll make pineal gland melatonin later. And if you go outside in sunlight, you'll make your subcell. No, nobody and block artificial. Nobody ever said that. Here's your
yeah,
tryptophan. I was told, take tryptophan. Here, you know what I mean? They don't think of these things like because they're not taught this, and it's really needs to be get more mainstream and into the functional medicine model because I wasted so much time and money there just taking supplements that just went down the drain, and it just bugs me. And I understand the need for maybe someone in recovery maybe to use some endogenous melatonin just to get themselves like for a small portion of time.
right, only at the like, yes,
Yeah,
small
yeah,
portion of
small
time.
portion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
exactly.
learn how to use the lifestyle stuff to get off of that and start making it yourself because I don't know. Some people say you can down regulate these processes. You know, I know I don't I didn't. I feel like even though I took it for too long, I know I'm making my own melatonin and doing all that because I can see it in my body, right? So, but you can, I think, if it's too long of a period. So you have to be careful. So
So we
Just
have about 5 minutes.
yeah, so we want to there's one question two questions left really. One is I got to just ask you about the quantum connection.
yeah.
Yeah, how much fun is that podcast?
Oh my God, I love it, Laura. I
You
love it. I
do.
love, oh my, yeah, I look forward to it every week. I'm sad when we don't get to meet. Like Heather's going to be waiting. So, oh, I'm going to meet with Heather and do the Quantum Connection podcast. Like, I just love it. And I love sharing with people. I love teaching, right? So there's that. And I
Yes.
love meeting people and learning from other people. I mean, there's never been a guest that I haven't learned something new from. Just like I said, people in the quantum biology world are just the best, most amazing people to spend time with and hang out with. So it fills my cup every week. I absolutely love doing
Oh,
it. And yeah, like chatting with you girls, I love this right now. This is amazing. So, I mean, yeah,
well,
I love it. It's just, it's amazing thing to share this with the world and then like to get the feedback, not only from clients, this helped, but I listened to your podcast and I learned this and I did this and I implemented it and this is XYZ happened. I'm like, oh my God, amazing. Thank you so much. Like, it's so great. Like that also fills me up.
oh, should.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
I
I
mean,
love it.
I don't know about Andeea, but if you see me looking down, I've been taking notes on a few things because tomorrow
Oh,
I have a presentation called Sunlight Therapy at a holistic fair. So I got a couple tips I didn't even think about.
oh.
I love the daycare analogy. I'm going to use that.
That I have to say it's Carrie Bennett's, but yeah, it's
Carrie
a good
Bennett's.
one.
Okay. Yeah. But I guess the final question, maybe we're going to try this out on you, Vanessa, because we haven't done this
Okay.
yet, but we
All
could
right.
just ask, what does it mean for you to be quantum healthy? And that would
Yeah.
be just like parting words of wisdom. Yeah.
So many things, man. I would say constantly healthy is making your health a priority, number one, living accordance with nature's laws. Like you feel nature, you're one with nature, you grow, you learn, you unlearn, you adapt, you're evolving, you're always changing, right? It's never just one thing. You're always willing to learn and listen to your body's wants and needs and meet those needs within reason with your health as the priority. I think a lot of us don't listen to our body's needs and wants. We look for the guru, we look for the protocol, we look for the thing. We don't follow that. So it's a lot of quantumly healthy to me. It's yes, living in line with nature, but also listening to your internal bodily clues and what they're saying. because your body's craving ice cold water for a reason, or your body's wanting to be out in sunlight for a reason, or your body's having a reaction to sunlight for a reason, or all these things, right? All these things matter, right? So like all of that's important. So have boundaries that are supportive to your health goals. Also, trust your body and its ability to heal, because you can heal. I always believe that you can always make traction, honestly.
Well, you're living proof.
Thank you. Yeah.
Living proof.
But everybody can, like, everybody can do this, you have to trust our bodies. We're so fearful of our symptoms. That's really important too. Like, and the symptoms and the healing is going to bring you new insight, growth, wisdom, strength. That's going to lead you on a new path that you're meant to take, so follow that inner compass, let it guide you towards your dreams, your goals, the things that resonate with you. I didn't resonate to take antidepressants. I sat there and I looked at those pills and I said, I just can't put these in my body. I knew I needed to walk a different path. You have to do what resonates with you and your inner compass, right? So also just enjoy life each day, have gratitude, love for the big and small things, have connection with people, that like you guys and other people like in your life, like that connection is so important. And then just like, it also, quantumly healthy means also like trust in the knowing, because in the quantum, if you know it and can see it, it already exists and anything is possible.
Whoa, what a great place to maybe end. Mic drop.
Wow, that was amazing.
Oh,
Lovely. I loved all of that.
Thank you.
All
Well,
right. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa, for coming on and spending
Thank
some
you for
time with
having
us. I think you've dropped so many words of wisdom. I definitely took a
did.
couple of notes myself, just like you did, Laura. All right, everyone. We will see you next time on Quantum Healthy Podcast. Bye.
Thank you so much, girls.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you so much for listening to the Quantum Healthy Podcast. We hope you found some value in this information. And if you feel inspired, please share it and leave us a 5-star review. This will help us reach so many more people. If you want to connect with Laura, you can find her at laurakistmanwellness.com and Andeea at andeearay.com. Links are below in the show notes. Now, go find some sunlight and embrace your own quantum healthy.